So we're gonna get a coffee at this place called Oatmeals, which I go to every day. And they were actually on that television show Shark Tank and won. One of the great things about working in this neighborhood is that there's so much history. I mean, within the last 100 years, Emma Goldman spoke here. The last presidential election, we talked about how Madonna performed in the fountain. You know, as someone who works in performance and studies performance and makes performances, there's always performance going on in this park. All right, so here we are. This is Pless Hall, and we're gonna come through Pless to get to my office. Hey, Rochelle. Good morning.
How are you?
Good. How are you?
Good, thank you. Good morning.
This is Rochelle. She's mission control here in the educational theater office.
Good morning. Good morning, everybody.
She keeps us all in line and a well-oiled machine. Basically, my class starts at 9:30, so if I get in this early, I try to do some prep. I feel like it's really important that students are doing assignments and projects that are actually connected to the real world in some way, to what their potential careers might be. And so the students that I train in educational theater tend to want to work in community environments, educational environments, professional artistic environments, and all three of those areas require the ability to write and articulate project ideas, either to a school administrator or to a theater producer or to someone that runs a community-based organization. And so I try to create projects that allow students to exercise those skills. And so I'm trying to take that feedback that I'm getting from real world environments and bring it into an academic environment so that students are creating projects that they can use, or potentially pitch once they leave NYU. And we're now joined by Keith Huff, who's
Hello.
adjunct instructor in educational theater. For this course, he leads the 2 recitation sections that meet each week. So I lecture twice a week, and Keith leads the recitations. So this class that we're going into, we're looking at theater as an art form, hence the title, and thinking about how is theater and performance different from other mediums like film and television. And I also use kind of a broad definition of theater for this class, which is any live event where A performs B for C, which kind of opens up all sorts of possibilities about what theater actually is or can be. And the purpose of Greek theater has a very strong connection to government, and in this moment, to that notion of domination, okay? Teaching culture, all right? There are rituals, right? Other examples of rituals, the masks were constructed with megaphone pieces built into the mask so that when we spoke through it, it amplified the voice. This is where the Broadway musical came from, all right? One place. You have to know the rules before you can break them. And so I create a lot of techniques and strategies and approaches to things, and I ask students to follow those while they're in my class. But then at the end of the class, I ask them to, as soon as they're out the door on the last day of class, they should make it their own. They should do it the way that they want to do it based on the structures and processes and techniques that I've introduced them to through the course. All right, so we're headed back to a meeting that starts in 10 minutes. We're going to be talking about this research project that we're working with Elizabeth King on that looks at how the work that we're doing in the Verbatim Performance Lab might be affecting people's understanding of their political beliefs.
My name is Elizabeth King. I'm Associate Professor of International Education and Politics. This is where people defend their dissertations.
Yeah.
In this room.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. So it's good for you to spend some time.
Exactly.
So the exciting thing about that project is that project came out of a dinner, actually, that the deans hosted last year. They bring faculty from the different departments in Steinhardt who they think might have similar interests, and then we just basically like share what we do, and then like these cross pollinations happen. So Elizabeth and I started talking, and she was like, I'm really interested in what you're doing in this lab and how it might affect people's perceptions. And the grant involves the verbatim performance lab and looking at when an audience member looks at one of our videos or live performances, in this case videos, what happens for them based on the idea that actors are performing word for word and gesture for gesture, generally like a highly recognizable person, but we do a flip of gender or race and ethnicity or age, and what does that do to an audience when they experience that? We are headed to a production meeting for the Cavanaugh Files, which is happening as part of Constitution Day here at NYU. And we're joined now by Cassie Holzum, who is a recent graduate of the program in educational theater here at Steinhardt. So in this meeting, this is going to be the first time that we're meeting with the technicians who are going to run the lights and sound for the performance on Thursday night. See, the passersby are waving. Everybody must think I'm like important, which I'm not. So we're going into the Kimmel Center, which is the Center for Student Life at NYU. So there are all sorts of offices and performance spaces and practice rooms and eating establishments in here. So this is where a lot of people hang out and do work. Here we are. We've arrived. The Cavanaugh Files is 5 separate moments from those hearings, from the testimony from Dr. Christine Blasey Ford and Judge Brett Kavanaugh when he was, being in the confirmation process for him to become a Supreme Court justice, that we're preparing for a live presentation here for Constitution Day at NYU. And actors have learned those moments verbatim, but we manipulate the gender. So a woman plays Brett Kavanaugh in part of his opening statement. So the Verbatim Performance Lab emerged from a project that I did in late 2016, early 2017 called Her Opponent, which was a gender-flipped version of excerpts of the 2016 presidential debates. When that run ended, I realized that there was something really powerful about this gender-flipped verbatim performance that was helping people to see something that they couldn't see before. And so the mission of the lab is that we take interview-based data from interviews that we conduct with people, or from media artifacts, so like a debate clip or a television interview, and actors transcribe, or we transcribe, those interviews or those media artifacts, and then actors using the transcription and the original audio recording or the audio and video recording learn the gestures and words verbatim. All of this is an attempt to disrupt these preconceived notions or biases that we have around political, social, and cultural narratives. We are in the middle of classes changing, as you can see. So the beautiful day continues, right? Amazing. Yeah. You're always taking your life into your hands when you step into the street in New York City. When we did Her Opponent, that first project that sort of inspired the creation of the lab, when an audience bought a ticket to the off-Broadway production, they were also committing to participating in the discussion. And so I facilitated almost all of those discussions. And the idea of those discussions is to get people talking. I think that in-person dialogue and kind of really listening and looking at another person in the eye is an effective way of actually coming to understanding. And not agreement. I don't think we have to agree, but understanding why people think what they think, I think is really valuable. Just facilitating the 25 to 30 minute discussion, kind of holding space with 50 to 100 people at a time, was emotionally challenging, because people were having really significant realizations about what had happened in that election and talking about it for the first time. So how do I take care of myself with that? So one way was to sort of exit and let the audience clear after the discussion was done. I try to exercise on a regular basis. I try to have the actors who work in the lab, we're really careful about making sure people are taking care of themselves, because inhabiting someone else's speech and gestural pattern can be really taxing. And then I have a great family. I get to spend time with my partner. I talk with my family who doesn't live in the city, and then I get to work with people like Laura and Keith and countless other students and alumni who are just really committed to the work, and then that inspires me, to keep doing it. But it's also nice to know that people care about what I'm doing. So Marion and I have been working together for 13 years, I think 13 or 14 years. She designed the costumes for her opponent, and then she has designed all the lab projects, so she's the lab's resident designer. The classes that Stephanie had on in the picture, were those hers?
Yes, she took them. I gave them to her to rehearse
Great.
in, and I think she took a wedding band too.
Okay, great.
Because I'm like, you need to rehearse and be able to move.
Totally.
Get used to it. Did you like them?
Yeah, they were great.
Because they were kind of nice and chunky and so funny.
Because I was like, wow, they're really big, and then I went and looked at a picture of Blasey Ford, and I'm like, oh, they were really big.
Yeah, there's like she's hiding behind these glasses. It's amazing.
Yeah.
That's how we roll.
Beautiful.
Backpacks. Okay. Anyway, I love you.
Love you too. Thank you so much. We met Laura earlier this morning in a meeting that we had about a research project. She's in a role as a teaching intern in my ethno-acting and verbatim performance class. She took the class.
Yep.
And then as a doctoral student, she's obviously has interests in teaching and lots of experience teaching. Music practice rooms. We sometimes get entertainment in here.
I'm still worried about how I should be presenting my voice in order to do my representation.
Great. It might be interesting to think about this in a hyphenated word, presentation. I don't want you in any way to do something like this, to do a female voice. My natural voice tends to be up here, especially when I'm excited, and so I might drop it down here to play the person that I play. Does that make sense? So it's subtle, right? And it's not a caricature. It's you're looking for differences, and then figuring out what the subtle move towards that person is. The class right now is in the middle of interviewing each other, and they will play each other back next week. And part of that is so that they understand what it's like to be performed. So I've had the experience 5 or 6 times now of being interviewed and then played back, and I learn all sorts of things that are uncomfortable, right? I say okay a lot, or that's where I figured out that I have the slightest lisp at times, depending on how I'm sort of bringing my words together. And but then also when someone spends so much time learning 2 or 3 minutes of something that you've said, it's like a huge gift. That someone has paid that close attention. How often do we really sit down and look at each other in the eye and listen to each other, right? And I tell my students when they do these interviews with people as part of the class that they're doing something revolutionary, because we don't do this very often. Pretty typical for a Tuesday. Maybe a little busier than usual, but thanks again, and have a great rest of your evening. Bye.